Hello and welcome to YNWA Transfer News, your ultimate source for all Liverpool FC transfer news. Our first news is this. Steve McManaman claims Liverpool trio must accept criticism after painful defeat. Former Liverpool player Steve McManaman has urged Mohamed Salah, Virgil van Dijk, and Florian Wirtz to accept criticism and assist in lifting the Reds from their present difficulties. Liverpool suffered a fourth consecutive Premier League defeat, losing 3-2 at Brentford following setbacks against Crystal Palace, Chelsea, and Manchester United. Dango Ouattara and Kevin Shade put the Bees 2-0 ahead approaching the interval, before Milos Kerkez reduced the deficit in first-half added time. Thiago netted a third for the home side from the penalty spot after Van Dijk's challenge on Ouattara was deemed to have occurred just inside the area, while Salah's late strike proved insufficient to salvage a result for the visitors. Liverpool made a bit of a fight of it in the last 10 minutes when Mo Salah scored, McManaman remarked during TNT Sports coverage. At the end of the game, there were a couple of little half-chances, but that's brushing over the fact that Liverpool were beaten tonight. And Liverpool are not playing well, they're just playing as individuals. They're not miles off it, but they are not playing like they did last year. They're just waiting for moments of magic at times by various people. They're not playing as a unit. They're very open and they start to panic. So the football is very chaotic. They have to get back to what they did last year. And the good part of last year, and play as a unit and play together. But it's just all hit and miss at this moment in time. Everybody's running around all over the place. They're not solid in midfield because they're trying to jam players in there. And Slot has to go back, as I mentioned at halftime, to the players he really trusts, who he knows can do it. He continued, they've got home games coming up, and they have to turn this around. But they had all the platitudes and all the plaudits last year when they were winning games, and they were winning the league easily. Now they have to take the criticism on the chin. It's as simple as that, and they have to respond. Mo Salah needs criticism on the chin. Virgil van Dijk needs to take it. Florian Wirtz needs to take it. $100 has been spent on him. He needs to take it. And you know what? They have to respond. McManaman's critique of Liverpool was in stark contrast to his assessment of Brentford. Keith Andrews' players have now won back-to-back league games for the first time under their new boss, after a comfortable win at West Ham on Monday. They've got a game plan, they stick to it, they work hard, they've got a cohesiveness together, they know what their strengths are, and they play to their strengths. And they got their just rewards today, McManaman said. Liverpool's loss means the team will finish the weekend outside the top four for the first time this season, with a slim 2-point lead over Brentford. The Reds have 3 consecutive home games on the horizon, facing Crystal Palace in the Carabao Cup, Aston Villa in the Premier League, and Real Madrid in the Champions League, before their next away fixture against Manchester City on November 9th. Brentford fans' Arne slot chant speaks volumes for struggling Liverpool boss. For Liverpool, this weekend marked another significant step in the wrong direction. Brentford supporters couldn't contain their glee as Thiago confidently converted a penalty, likely dealing a critical blow to any hopes the Reds had of retaining the championship they won just 6 months ago. "You're getting sacked in the morning," was the taunt from the home fans directed at Arne Slot, following his team's 4th consecutive Premier League loss, coming hot on the heels of a morale-boosting Champions League victory over Eintracht Frankfurt. Despite leading Liverpool to a record-equaling 20th English League title last season, Slot has plenty of goodwill stored up, making it unlikely that the Anfield bosses would even consider letting him go right now. However, there's no denying that Slot is now facing the most significant test of his tenure with the Reds. You cannot compare all of them, the losses, but the most concerning thing is that you lose 4 times in a row, Slot said after the game. Afterwards, you can judge the performance, and today was the worst, in my opinion, from all the 4. While the final scoreline was as close as recent losses to Crystal Palace, Chelsea and Manchester United, this defeat to Brentford, who flawlessly executed the well-worn strategy for beating Liverpool, was undoubtedly the most disheartening of the season. Liverpool was its own worst enemy in this match, conceding early goals and squandering easy chances. The Reds showed little desire to capitalize on the opportunities that came their way until it was too late. Slot, who had previously been praised for his selection gamble earlier in the week, made several missteps with his starting lineup, substitutions, and in-game changes. Whatever the Liverpool manager decided, it simply didn't pay off. Slot might have expected more from his senior players and perhaps a bit of luck, which seemed to favor Brentford when it was, awarded the decisive penalty. The last time the Reds lost 4 consecutive Premier League matches was during the 2020-21 season when they were defending champions. Amidst the coronavirus pandemic, they barely managed to secure Champions League qualification on the final day of that season. If this poor form continues, even securing a top 4 finish could become a daunting task. This performance from Liverpool is simply not up to scratch. It's far from acceptable. Virgil van Dijk sends 4-word warning to Liverpool teammates. Liverpool captain Virgil van Dijk encouraged his teammates to look in the mirror after the Reds slumped to a 4th straight league loss on Saturday night. The Dutch skipper did not absolve himself of blame, but it was telling that he also called upon the people that were celebrating with us last year to show up in these times of strife. Van Dijk was one of several players who struggled during Liverpool's 3-2 defeat away to Brentford this weekend. The towering center-back never got to grips with Igor Thiago's physical game and gave away a second-half penalty, which the Brazilian converted. During his post-match press duties with TNT Sports, Van Dijk let out a long sigh before lamenting, "The fact is that we didn't keep clean sheets for 9 games. It's easy then to blame a particular person or the back line or set pieces, but it's a collective thing in the end as well. Everyone has to look in the mirror, including myself. That's what we all do, and that's what we all have discussed as well. I'm sure we will get out of this, but we don't get out of this just by talking about it," Van Dijk stressed. "We'll try to improve, that's what we work on. It's not that we're doing nothing in training or nothing behind the scenes. We all want to improve, that's why we're on the pitch as well. But it's tough at the moment. We need each other. We need the support. We need the people that were celebrating with us as well last year to be there for us now even more. And then I'm very confident that we will get out of this because we have the quality offensively, defensively. But the reality is we are looking for a clean sheet, but definitely for a win again. That's the reality. Liverpool have conceded 21 goals across 14 matches this term. They had let in 9 at this stage of last season. Over the last 4 games alone, the defending champions have shipped 8 goals, thanks in part to a worryingly repeatable tactic being deployed by several opponents. Andy Robertson's brutal verdict on chaotic Liverpool defeat, there's no structure. Andy Robertson admitted that Liverpool didn't stick to their game plan in a brutally frank analysis of the Reds' 3-2 loss to Brentford. Arne Slot's team were brought back down to earth with a bump after their midweek victory over Eintracht Frankfurt, suffering their 4th consecutive Premier League defeat. Brentford's Dango Ouattara netted the first goal just 5 minutes into the game, followed by Kevin Schad doubling the lead with a run onto Mikkel Damsgaard's through ball. Milos Kerkez managed to claw one back for Liverpool right before halftime, scoring his first goal for the club. However, the Hungarian's shaky start at Liverpool continued as he was replaced by Robertson just past the hour mark. By then, Liverpool had slipped further behind due to an Igor Thiago penalty. Despite Mohamed Salah reducing the deficit towards the end, Liverpool couldn't overturn the scoreline, marking their 5th loss in their last 6 matches across all competitions. Post-match, Robertson conceded that the Reds were nowhere near good enough against Brentford, extending their Premier League losing streak. Despite being fully aware of the threat posed by Keith Andrews' side, the Scottish player admitted that Liverpool had ultimately failed to execute their game plan. "We didn't do enough off the ball. On the ball, first half I thought we created a couple of moments, kept the ball quite nice," he admitted. "But you can't come to Brentford away and just expect to play them off the park because they are always going to be ready to fight. They're always going to be ready to put bodies in the box when it comes to set pieces. Put the balls in behind, pick up second balls. You know what you're going to come to here. They're always the same, and they're so good at it. It felt to me like we were just a yard off it in terms of that. They picked up so many second balls, and then the balls in behind. Our back line are running back to try and head the ball, which is so difficult as it is. We know how difficult, how good a set-piece team they are. We've worked on the long throw and everything, and 5 minutes in you concede 3 long throw-ins. One of them you concede from. Liverpool's next 5 Premier League fixtures compared to their title rivals. Context given to what is ahead for the Reds as they look to make up ground. Liverpool's defense of the Premier League crown took another hit on Saturday night as they fell to their 4th successive league defeat away to Brentford. What started out as a blip has now turned into a genuine crisis for Liverpool, who see themselves rapidly falling behind the Reds of the pack, despite only being 9 games into the season. Liverpool's recent form has seen them now sit 4 points off Arsenal, who are currently leaders, and 3 points off Manchester City, a gap that could lengthen if results go in favor of Liverpool's title rivals. After another disaster in the Premier League for Liverpool, pressure is mounting on Arne Slot to turn things around. The Dutchman's struggles to fix the Reds' current problems means Liverpool have slumped to 6th place in the table with Arsenal. Sunderland, Manchester City, Manchester United, and Bournemouth all currently ahead of them. Before they are next involved in the Premier League, if Tottenham Hotspur, Aston Villa, and Crystal Palace pull off some unlikely results, they can all leapfrog Liverpool, pushing the Reds down to 9th. Liverpool have just 4 matches until the next international break, and they will be looking to turn things around quickly before another break disrupts any potential momentum being built. Liverpool's next 5 Premier League games consist of Aston Villa at home, Manchester City away, Nottingham Forest at home, West Ham away, and Sunderland at home. Arsenal's next 5, Crystal Palace at home, Burnley away, Sunderland away, Tottenham Hotspur at home, and Chelsea away. Manchester City have Aston Villa away, Bournemouth at home, Liverpool at home, Newcastle United away, and Leeds United at home. It shouldn't matter who Liverpool's next opponents are if you want to win the lot. You have to beat the best, game by game, day by day. Arne Slot will look to put things right as it is still early in the season and anything can happen. Liverpool's desperate act in 100th minute against Brentford sums up woes. On a day when the clocks officially turned back, Arne Slot might have wished to rewind time to April of this year. Back then, his Liverpool team was on top of the world, having been crowned the Premier League champion with 4 games to spare in one of Anfield's most jubilant days. However, since then, the tide has shifted. A lavish summer spending spree has resulted in a significant turnover in the squad, and so far, the changes have yielded little reward. Whether he agrees or not, Slot is now facing the most significant crisis of his tenure. Any talk of defending the title seems premature. That ship appears to be departing before Halloween, and the reigning champion could find itself trailing Arsenal by 10 points by the time it next takes to the pitch against Aston Villa at Anfield on Saturday. Perhaps the hardest pill to swallow for the traveling fans as they watched. Their team succumbed to a 3-2 defeat against Brentford was just how foreseeable it all was. Liverpool was found severely lacking when tasked with countering the strengths of its host in West London. Brentford's direct physical approach was a resounding success against Liverpool. The Reds were outmuscled and outplayed, and following a 2-1 defeat to Manchester United last week that prompted an emergency team meeting, Captain Virgil van Dijk may need to call another one next week. There are some harsh realities that need to be addressed with several underperforming stars. The focus of the analysis meetings at the AXA Training Center this week will undoubtedly be on Brentford's direct threat and how to effectively counter those long ball and lengthy throw-in tactics. Arne Slot, Liverpool's manager, was so taken aback by the number of long balls his team has had to contend with this season that he even mentioned it in his pre-match comments. Acknowledging the shifting trends at the top level this term, before kickoff, Liverpool had faced 507 long balls, accounting for over 20% of the passes made by the opposition this season. This is the highest percentage in the league, and it's clear that this is now the successful strategy against them. The Reds must improve their response to this tactic or risk derailing their season, the head coach, would have been frustrated when Brentford launched a long throw into the area from Michael Kayode within the first 5 minutes, resulting in the hosts' first shot on target from Dango Ouattara finding the back of the net. Once again, the Reds found themselves trailing early in the match, a worrying trend considering they're supposed to be defending their Premier League title. Teams don't seem to need to do anything extraordinary to gain an advantage over Liverpool. The early goal, much like the one conceded against United at Anfield last week, allowed Liverpool's opponent to adopt a defensive strategy, getting men behind the ball. Slot's team struggled to break down the opposition, who defended in numbers and limited space, making the rest of the first half a struggle. Florian Wirtz, who was often outmuscled by the stronger Brentford players, had a shot go wide, while Curtis Jones forced a routine save from former teammate Kawiman Kelleher. The early goal provided Keith Andrews' players with the opportunity to counterattack effectively, which they did when Kevin Shade outran Ibrahima Konate in the Brentford half, maintaining his cool when faced with Georgi Mamardashvili one-on-one. It seemed as though Liverpool would enter the halftime break, contemplating damage control for the second half, but Milos Kerkez managed to get on the end of fellow fullback Connor Bradley's cross to narrow the gap. However, the goal didn't have the desired impact in the second half, and former Reds goalkeeper Kelleher remained largely unchallenged as the visitors retreated. Nursing their wounds, Igor Thiago was presented with the opportunity to make it. 3-1 from the penalty spot after substitute. Referee Tim Robinson reversed his initial decision that the foul had occurred outside the area. The decision seemed harsh on Van Dijk, who appeared to make no contact with Ouattara, but the Bees striker capitalized on the opportunity and converted the spot kick. Slot introduced Federico Chiesa, Alexis Mac Allister, Andy Robertson, and Rio Ngumoha in a bid to alter the course of the match, but their arrival failed to make any meaningful difference. Wirtz was substituted by Joe Gomez to the accompaniment of home supporters chanting that he was a waste of money, following earlier songs declaring that Jordan Henderson left 'cause you're Mohamed Salah produced a magnificent, instinctive strike to narrow the gap and establish another thrilling finale. But this rescue routine has become tiresome. Liverpool finds itself needing to mount comebacks on a weekly basis at present, and once again, the team fell short. The image of Mamardashvili advancing for a corner in the 100th minute in a desperate attempt to salvage a point in October was simply desperate. The flaws are now completely exposed, and a significant reassessment of those summer expectations is required. Liverpool will be nowhere close to the title while performing at this level. Thank you for watching. Like and comment, subscribe.